Audio quality is obviously super important when you first get into content creation, because the better you sound to the audience, the more likely they are to stick around and listen to what you have to say. But in my opinion, there's a sweet spot for microphone prices, and that's around £100 to £150, because it still sounds professional, but doesn't completely break the bank. This is the Maono PD400X. If you're looking for a dynamic microphone that sounds professional and doesn't break the bank, then this might be the one for you. Coming in at around £120, the PD400X has USB and XLR connections, as well as an all-metal body, a professional sound, and it comes with its own microphone stand, so it's great for travel or recording at home. Before we get started though, Maono were kind enough to send out the PD400X to test out and review and stuff, but they haven't paid me anything, so all the opinions in this video are going to be my own. Recently I did a video on the PD200X, which is the little bro to this one. It costs a little bit less, it's like $80 or so, but I was still relatively impressed with the microphone for that price. It sounded good, it's great for beginners, it even looks good and has RGB and an app and all sorts, and was well worth the money. However, if you're someone who wants to take your audio quality a little bit more seriously, but you can't afford the high-end microphones in like the $300–400 range, this microphone might be a great choice for you. Obviously in the box you get the microphone itself, as well as a windshield to avoid any plosives. You get a desktop stand, as well as a USB-C cable, and surprisingly an XLR cable too. I honestly think it's pretty great that you get an XLR cable in the box with this, because in my opinion this microphone's a little bit more intermediate to like professional grade microphone, which means that you're probably going to have like a mix or an interface to use instead of just plugging it in via USB. But obviously you get the USB cable as well, which gives you options for both, or if you want to use it when you're traveling and stuff, because it's just going to make it easy. But I do have one issue with the USB cable. I did the review on the PD200X as well, and I got the other cable with it, this white one here. So I've got this black one and the white one, but the cable that comes with the PD400X is actually a little bit shorter than the one that came with the 200X. I assume that's done because, well, as I just said, it's a little bit more intermediate to like professional grade microphones, so they want you to actually use the XLR more. But it would have been nice to have the same length USB cable just in case you actually need that extra like couple of feet. Obviously, like most good USB-C microphones these days, I can take the PD400X and plug it directly into my smartphone, and that means that it opens a lot of doors for content creation, because then you don't actually need to go out and buy an expensive camera and stuff, which most beginners aren't going to be able to afford. You just need to buy a microphone like this, plug it into your phone, and you can start creating on like TikTok, YouTube, Twitch, anywhere you want to post and stuff, and get high quality audio and visual like setups like this, which is going to be good enough to get started. Speaking of getting started though, I'm currently using this microphone in the best way possible. I've got it plugged into a mixer with an XLR and a bunch of filters on it, and this is kind of how it sounds. Sounds pretty good. However, if I take off those filters, this is how it sounds straight out of the box, and as you can kind of hear, it's relatively decent. It's not picking up any like major background noise or anything, and my voice sounds okay in it, and I think you can do a lot with this as like a bass line via USB. Something else I quickly want to talk about though is the actual audio quality of this plugged into the smartphone, because I am so impressed and very surprised by how good it actually sounds, because as you can hear, it sounds great, and I'm sure you'd have no complaints listening to this for a long period of time. But other microphones I've used, like cheaper ones and stuff in like the $60 to $80 range or whatever, I've had to have the preamps at like 80 to 100% just to be loud enough to be heard, and then that will actually introduce like background noise, hiss, hum, staticky sounds, which don't sound very good. But for this microphone, because obviously a little bit more expensive, has better preamps in it, and that means that the actual preamps only at like 10 to 20% on the actual like dial, which is insane to me, but it's going to mean that your audio quality is going to be much cleaner than cheaper microphones when plugging it into your smartphone. So the PD400X has good preamps and stuff, and as you can hear, it sounds really good and clean, but it's not the only feature built into the microphone. The microphone itself obviously has the preamp dial on top, but that dial also controls the headphone volume, as well as the mix between PC and microphone for when you're actually monitoring the sound. And not only that though, if you look to the back of the microphone, it also has a button which can control different like EQ or frequency settings. So it's got a high pass filter, a presence boost, and like a mix of both of them, so you can kind of tune this microphone to how you want it to sound. Speaking of setting up this microphone with how you want it to sound, it also works with the Maono link as well. Same as the PD200X, you basically just plug it into your computer, download this app, and then you'll be greeted with this page here. So you can choose the microphone you're using. I'm obviously using the PD400X, and then we have the standard version of this and the advanced version. The standard is obviously for people that don't really know how to set up like microphones and EQs and all sorts of stuff like that. So you can literally just pick, I want a deep tone voice, or a natural tone voice, or a bright kind of voice, which is obviously going going to change how your microphone sounds. But if you want a little bit more control, you can head into the advanced mode instead, and then choose everything from like the EQ you want. So you can add like a high pass filter, a presence boost, both of them mixed together, and you're going to get a different sound on every one. I personally don't like doing this because I add my own EQ in the software that I'm recording in, but you can also set like your gain level as well as like a limiter and a compressor and stuff, which is obviously going to change the sound depending on how much of this you add in and things. As I said though, I much prefer setting all that stuff up myself. I basically have my own filters and EQs and make the microphone sound exactly how I want it to sound, because I've been doing this for a while and know what I like from a microphone. But not everyone does. If you're new to this, or you don't know how the filters and EQs and stuff works, or what works best for your voice, having an app like the Maono Link stuff means that you can just go into the pick a setting that you think sounds best, and it'll sound good and professional without you having to learn like hours worth of knowledge just to get a microphone to sound half decent. So as always, I've set up this weird microphone test so I can compare 3 different like price tags of microphones, so you can hear the difference between a cheap microphone, an expensive one, and the one in the middle, which is the one I'm testing today. So I've got the PD400X, the 200X, and also the SM7B. So that's $80, $150, and like $400 or so, which makes a big difference. So if I read out my quote for the day, try and guess what it is. Yesterday is history. Tomorrow is a mystery, but today is a gift. That is why it is called the present. Yesterday is history. Tomorrow is a mystery, but today is a gift. That is why it is called the present. Yesterday is history. Tomorrow is a mystery, but today is a gift. That is why it is called the present. And as you can hear, all 3 microphones sound pretty great, especially because there's like a $300 difference between the cheap one and the most expensive one. But I don't think there's like a massive difference between this like $150 microphone and going up to like the Shure SM7B. You can probably tell the difference if you're like listening to music or like a high-end podcast and stuff, but for the majority of creators, people that are going to make YouTube videos or live stream on Twitch or Kick or YouTube or wherever you're going to create content, the audio gets compressed that much that your audience and you probably won't even be able to tell that much of a difference. And that's why, like at the start of this video, I said there's like a sweet spot for microphones. That like $100, $150 range is going to be great for most creators because it's going to sound professional, have all the features that you need, but not completely break the bank where you need like a $400 microphone plus a mixer and interface and stuff, and then that's going to bump it up to like $700, $800, even to $1,000, which is going to be too much for some people. So adding filters to a microphone like this is going to basically be 90% of the way there and still sound pretty great. So I figured I'd do a couple of tests to kind of show how this deals with like off-axis rejection and like situations that you might encounter when you're creating content at home. So test number 1 is obviously off-axis rejection, as I just said, and that's basically how much sound is cut out from the sides and behind the microphone. So right in front of it, as you can hear right now, sounds really clear. You can hear my voice very nice and it sounds great. But if I kind of move the microphone and go like 90 degrees to the side, it should cut off a lot of the frequencies and sound very muffled compared to what it would sound like if I was right at the top up here. And then obviously to the other side of the microphone, probably doesn't sound very clear here, and that's a good thing. It's good that it's not clear, because that means that if you have like loud neighbors or a pet or fans and stuff on in your room, that's going to cut off a lot of the sound and not be distracting for your audience. Test number 2 is obviously going to be the keyboard test, which is going to be very common in the content creator space, especially if you're like a gamer and things, where you'll be talking into a microphone and typing on your keyboard like this, because as you can hear, these keys are very loud right now. These are the blue switches, I think, and they're awful to listen to, but hopefully you can still hear me okay over the sound of that typing. And test number 3 is weirdly going to be about fans, because I had someone comment in one of my older videos asking about the microphone and how it copes with like PC fans and room fans and AC and stuff like this. So currently my PC's like here right in front of me, so this whole video's had a PC in front of it, but I've got a room fan as well. So I'm going to turn this on, and as you can kind of maybe see that it's now playing and stuff like that. But if I keep talking into it like this with the fan here, you might end up with some wind noise and stuff. This is on as full as it possibly goes, and it's absolutely insane, and you'd probably never make content like this. But I just wanted to show you what it would sound like if you were in the worst possible situation for a microphone. Overall, I think this microphone is fantastic for the price. It sounds great, it holds its own, it doesn't sound too far different from expensive microphones like the SM7B and stuff. It does have like little flaws though, because it is very plosive, like hungry, I guess. It picks up a lot of P sounds, P's and B's and p, you can kind of hear that. However, I will say that Maono are actually like working to make that better, because they give you this like pop shield. I looked at some other reviews like when I was researching this microphone and things, and when they first made this microphone, they had a different windshield pop shield thing. It was like thinner and a bit more flat and stuff, and resembled more like an MV7 kind of shaped one. And that one struggled some more. But if I put this pizza, if I put this on, sorry, but when I say like pizza, pepperoni, prizes, it doesn't sound as bad as it does obviously without this. So sure, understandably, it affects the aesthetics of it a little bit, but if audio quality and avoiding plosives and stuff is something that you are like a stickler for and you don't want to hear any of them, then you kind of have to have the windshield on your microphone. Other than that, the only thing that I really encountered throughout this entire review that was kind of like an issue was sometimes when I had the XLR and the USB plugged in at the exact same time, I would get like background hum or like a high-pitched whiny sound, but it didn't always happen, so I don't really understand what was going on there. I know it's some type of interference, but I don't know if it's a me issue or it's the fact that those two cables are kind of too close together. But that's not really a big issue for most people, because you aren't going to record both inputs all at once. You might as well just obviously have it separately, so XLR for at home or high-end recordings, and then USB for when you're traveling or need a smaller, more compact type of setup. Anyway, I hope this review, like demonstration and stuff, was useful for you. Let me know in the comments if I missed anything, and I'll try and let you know my opinion on it, or make a follow-up short or something on something I've missed. As always, I'll leave some links to everything down below in the doobly-doo, and if you want to check out any more audio and content creation tips or other reviews of microphones, I'll leave them obviously here for you to check out, and I'll see you all in the next one.